Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 Daily. I think it's Tuesday night. It could be Wednesday night. I think it's Wednesday night. It is Wednesday, isn't it? I've lost all track of what day it is and where we are. I've been informed by my 7-year-old child it's Wednesday, and I've got the look of death from her as well. So that's how it goes. This show is brought to you by Paddy Power, a bookies, a website, and an app. If you gamble, please gamble responsibly, and remember to do so with Paddy Power. Tonight, I'm with you as always, and I have Keith and Pete on to discuss the World 11 that we've been voting on over the last couple of days. Some really interesting stuff around the midfield. Loads of polls today, loads of mad results, and we're going to look at them. We're going to talk through them. We're going to update you on both teams, the viewers team and the alternate trippers team, and we're going to look forward to the forwards tomorrow. There's going to be plenty of debate in this one. There's no doubt about that. Here we go. And here we go. And Keith, I'm going to come to you first. I'm just going to give you a little update on the sides as they stand, because Pete wasn't on last night. It was Phil with us last night. So I'm going to update everybody on the teams as we go out through the week. Tomorrow will be the last show on this, and we'll have both teams. And then we have little plans around both teams when they're all finished. But the viewers so far, as of last night, had picked Buffon in goal, Cafu right back, Maldini left back, Cannavaro centre half with Baresi. We had gone with Schmeichel in goal, Zanetti right back, Lam left back, Virgil van Dijk and Chiellini as the back four. Today was all about midfielders, and Keith, we had a lot of names to get through, didn't we?
Oh yes, one or two, yeah. The amount of names, but I suppose it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? With these sort of things, that you just keep naming names. You're going back 30 years, we're going back, and you're just remembering, little gems here and there. And it was an interesting day with names getting bandied about all over the place.
It really was.
Some of the choices were a bit mad now, I have to say. But
they were mad.
The people chose.
Yeah, no, they were insane. And to be honest with you, I've come on here tonight and I said I'll get all these polls together. And when I started looking at them, I went, Jesus Christ, this was a lot of polls. We started off with, now we called it the defensive midfielder lineup, right? And people went, well, he's not a defensive midfielder. What we meant was a deep line kind of midfielder, that you would expect to see as the deepest or deep in it too, that kind of thing. People took it a little bit too literally, I'm going to be honest with you, but listen, we got there and we went along as best we could. So what we had was we had 16 names to go in this midfield. So it was in the first group we had Roy Keane, we had Dunga, we had Edgar Davids, and we had who else do we have in that one? I'll tell you now. I have it in front of me. Javier Mascherano. That was the four in the group, right? The second group was Patrick Vieira, Dimitri Albertini, Frank Rijkaard, and Gattuso. The third group was Makelele, Deschamps, Redondo, and Lothar Matthäus. And the last group was Pirlo, Xavi, Busquets, and Xavi Alonso. Peter, a lot of really good names in there. A lot of really good names.
Yeah.
Off the bat, I don't know if you've looked at the polls. Where are you going with this one?
Where's two questions? Why is Mascherano in there, and where's Ruud Gullit?
Right. Yeah, that's a good show.
Very good question, Peter. Very good question.
Mascherano was in there because his name came up a couple of times. Ruud Gullit, I don't know where people wanted to put him.
See, this was a big deal with the polls.
Because if you look at Ruud Gullit plays sweeper for Chelsea.
Listen.
No, but look, he does.
Towards the end of his career. But Ruud Gullit turns up, you play him. You got to think AC Milan. Ruud Gullit, you stick him in the middle of the park.
He was an attacking midfielder, wasn't he? He was an attacking midfielder.
He was everything. He was everything. Don't get me wrong. The closest thing I've seen to the kind of presence is Virgil van Dijk. But you're talking about that in a midfielder. Everything. He could attack, he could defend, he could orchestrate, he could lead. He was everything. He was everything.
You're going to get very upset later on in the show, Pete. I'm just going to let you know.
I'm already upset.
But of those names, I don't know if you've seen the poll or not, but of those names, like, I'll go through them quickly again. Keane, Vieira, Makelele, Pirlo, Mascherano, Xavi, Albertini, Dunga, Deschamps, Busquets, Rijkaard, Davids, Alonso, Gattuso, Redondo, Lothar Matthäus. Have you got a favourite in that straight away?
Yeah, well, people are going to hate me for this, but obviously you mentioned Keane. You can't have a midfield without a leader. The rest of them are nice. There's a lot of nice players in there. Lothar Matthäus, grabbing games by the scruff of the neck. You think of Italian '90. You think of how he just single-handedly dominated that. So I would go with probably Roy and Lothar Matthäus, to be honest.
Okay. Keith, when you seen those 16 names come out, was there anybody that jumped up? Because we are going to have to put an alternate in here at some stage, so we might as well throw them out there early and see how it goes.
It's going to be tough. Now, I have to say, I was not entertaining Keane at all, and I wasn't entertaining Vieira either, or Mascherano. I was looking at the sort of, again, I said it last night, a lot my formative young teenage years watched a lot of Serie A, so I was all over the Rijkaards, the Albertinis, that sort of player, the Italian influence type of players, and then even the likes of Redondo or the likes of Matthäus. So I was thinking along those lines. But, names were just bandied about all over the place. I mean, to me, Edgar Davids was in there. Edgar Davids was more of a box-to-box midfielder. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of how people perceived, you know what I mean, like what type of player they are. Like, even there, he has Hulla should have been in this group, whereas I felt Hulla was maybe a deep line playmaker, an attacking one, or a sweeper, certainly. But I suppose it's how you see it in yourself, So for me, I'd have been looking at, Frank Rijkaard was amazing. Frank Rijkaard was an absolute baller of a player in that Milan side. But personal favourite was Dimitrov Albertini for me.
Okay. Albertini is a really good show. I really like him as a player as well. But when you look at, like when you go back through what happened today, like I can tell you the first vote, Keane had 37%, Dunga had 11%, Mascherano had 42% and won the vote, and Edgar Davids after that came in on something like 10%. Pirlo in the other one, 20% for Pirlo, 25% for Xavi, 13% for Busquets and 42% for Xavi Alonso. Now, a lot of people will say, and probably right, it's a Liverpool podcast we have, so there's going to be a lot of Liverpool boys there. But I can tell you, Mascherano and Alonso both go through in those votes. For you, P, are they right? Because
no,
I don't think they are either.
Yeah. Xabi Alonso, absolutely outstanding. I'm not going to criticise a player like that. The man absolutely floated through games of football, let's be honest. But Javier Mascherano, his second touch was always a tackle. And I think I made this point on this podcast before, you can mistake somebody that's always in a tackle for being a great player if you don't understand the game. And I've seen Mascherano a couple of times in the flesh at Anfield, and the touch was always heavy, and he looked great in the tackle. It was always fierce, but you've got to ask yourself, what is a central midfield player doing in that type of tackle all the time? It's because his touch is heavy and loose, and he never done it for me. I always thought he was an accident waiting to happen. And if you're playing midfield for a club like Liverpool, you need to be contributing more in the final third, regardless of your position. And Mascherano, just for me, like I said to you, he'll always look like he was playing, for a struggling side. When he was playing for us, and he played under Benitez. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody had their responsibility under Rafa defensively, but still, I think his legacy is a little bit through red rose tinted glasses, shall we say. So he has no place in an all-time great 11 under any circumstance. From me.
Something like Chris Brack is just upset over Philippe Lam. He wants him in every part of the pitch because he didn't get in as the left back last night. Danny Emery wants Philippe Lam playing left back, right back, defensive midfielder and sub goalie. There's a lot of love for Philippe Lam. Scott Parker.
He's in our team. He's in the alternate team.
He is in the alternate team. So I think people need to stop getting so upset. Scott Parker not involved is a shambles. Says Dylan O'Rourke. Dylan just being Dylan O'Rourke. To be honest with you, Key says,
I think Dylan's on to something.
Key says no no Liverpool player gets in my World 11 1990 to today. Well, Keith, stay on board because there is there's a couple more Liverpool players coming up. Stephen O'Connor mentions Roberto Donadoni. Well, look, we'll get to that. Does he make the attacking midfielders or the box to box midfielders? You'll have to wait and see. In the last two votes, Makelele comes in at 62%, Deschamps at 5, Redondo at 5, and Lothar Matthäus at 29. And the interesting one for me was Vieira come in at 71%, Albertini at 3, Rijkaard at 16, and Gattuso come in at 10% or something around like that. Keith, is it recency bias?
It's recency and it's Premier League bias, I think.
Okay.
Which is fair enough, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people watch Premier League and will have seen Vieira week in, week out. Will have seen Makelele. Now, Makelele was a very important player for Chelsea and Real Madrid and France, but only because he done the donkey work. And I know Deschamps was the same before that. Like, he shouldn't be in the mix. Like, he's in a group there with Bleeding Redondo, Lothar Matthäus, Didier Deschamps, and steamrolls it. No, do me a favour. Shouldn't even.
It's harsh. That's harsh. That's harsh, Keith. How many players do we know? How many players do we know have the role named after them? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Makelele fan, but however, you know, a lot of people call it the Makelele role.
Premier League bullshit, but Pete, you know what I mean? If you ask me, if you're asking me out of them four, he's the worst of the four of them for the start. Makelele, Deschamps, Redondo, Matthäus. Lothar Matthäus, that's a bleeding insult to Lothar Matthäus. But in saying that, I never seen Lothar Matthäus as a deep line playmaker or defensive midfielder.
No,
I've seen him as a central midfielder and a sweeper. Again, similar to
think of 1990. Think of 1990, Lothar Matthäus. But I mean, I make a point to you. In my view, Real Madrid are still trying to replace Claude Makelele.
He was a great player. He certainly was a great player. But if I'm picking a World 11, right, I don't want a non-entity like Claude Makelele in the team. Do you know what I'm trying to get at without being disrespectful?
No, exactly what you mean.
Disrespectful to him. He was a player that facilitated others by just mopping up. Now, that's fair enough if you're an actual team and you're trying to win. It's very important, and especially in that Galactico team that Real Madrid had. They needed Makelele, and he did get a position named after him. But to me, there's so many more players. I mean, I still think it's Premier League and recency bias coming to the fore in this, but then that's fair enough, you know. Yeah,
it depends. Are you trying to pick the 11 best players, or are you trying to pick the best team? I think it's two very, very different things, to be honest.
Yeah,
very much true. Very much is.
Yeah,
but I think when you're dealing with these type of players, you know, you don't need to you might say you do need to nullify the attack of your team, but I think, you know, I suppose whatever trio comes out on top in either team will have their strengths.
Yeah.
And weaknesses as well, I'm sure.
Well, look, it got the final vote comes in, and it's Alonso that wins on 57%. Vieira is second with 27%. Makelele only gets 11% of the vote, and Mascherano in fourth with 5% of the vote. So Xavi Alonso goes into the deep line midfielder, we can call it, okay? There's loads going on in the chat here. Midfielder in this, Key says, midfielders in this century are so different. I get the Italian defenders 90 to 99, but no midfield. Forget the pre-2000 midfielders. Xavi, Iniesta, Pirlo make them all look like clowns. Danny Emery says the argument yesterday for Baresi was that he couldn't play the modern game. That argument has to stand tonight. I don't think we argue that.
Yeah, that was a harsh one. Phil made the point, and I did sort of see where he was coming from. But then, you know, I think it is hard to compare eras. You know what I mean? It's your own personal preference of what. So
here's a counter argument to that point, and I won't use an expletive that I wanted to. Are you telling me that someone like Franco Baresi, whoever made that point about Franco Baresi couldn't read a game that, let's pick an athlete, Nicolas Pepe was playing in, and render Nicolas Pepe redundant based on athleticism alone?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to ask Phil, because Phil was on loads of gin and loads of wine. Did you hear it last night, Pete?
Yeah. What he was saying about Baresi was that Baresi was part of a team that he never got exposed. He was in a very defensive team that didn't give up much opportunities, and that Baresi was maybe
because of him. because
but
of him.
it was a lot of it was down to him. You know what I mean? It was exactly. Maldini, Baresi, you had Sebastiano Rossi behind him. You had players in front of him and beside him, but it sort of denigrated him a bit. You know what I mean? But look, that was Phil. He was on a mad one last night. That's allowed.
We're not too sure which Phil it was, but it was definitely the one that drinks gin and wine. But look, we're going to have to pick an alternate. The fact is, Xavi Alonso goes in there. Now, look, Xavi Alonso is a fantastic footballer. Would I have him in there? He wouldn't have been my choice out of them 16. I'm going to be honest with you. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to let Keith pick the defensive midfielder as the alternate. I'll pick the box-to-box midfielder, as they call it, and I'm going to let Pete take the attacking midfielder, the alternate, okay? So Xavi Alonso goes in for the viewers' pick. Keith, where are you going with this? Because at the moment you have Zanetti, Van Dijk, Chiellini, Lam as a back four. You have Schmeichel as your goalkeeper. Who are you putting in there as your deep line midfielder?
I'm going against me personal favourite, Albertini. And I'm going for another Milan man, and I'm going for Frank Rijkaard, because I think Frank Rijkaard was as defensively solid as any other defensive midfielder, but he was attacking. He was brilliant going forward as well. Okay, so Frank Rijkaard.
I think he's a brilliant shout, Frank Rijkaard. You know, when you look, if you go back, and we're all around the same age, I think, and if you go back and look, well, you're older than me, there's no doubt about it. But
for sure.
You know by looking at us all. But if you go back and you look at, you know, that Milan side, and you see the likes of Gullit, you see Van Basten, you see Rijkaard coming through, and Gullit, Van Basten is just a ridiculous goal scorer, and his career cut way too short due to persistent ankle problems. Gullit was just like Pete said earlier in the show, a powerhouse no matter where he was on the pitch. He was so skillful, he could be elegant, he was so powerful, and he'd an eye for goal. But Rijkaard out of the three, was he the third wheel? Probably not, but what he done as a footballer was just outrageous for me. He had the lot. He literally had got the lot. So Rijkaard is a really good show for the alternate side, and it's going to be very interesting when it comes down to when it comes down to both teams be completed and we see exactly where we stand. Listen,
and before we move off that, you know, a lot of people will disagree with that choice of Rijkaard, and they'll say, you know, Xavi has been that thing. I'm a huge fan of Xavi. I'm a huge fan of Barcelona around that era, but I'm also a huge fan of the Italian football from the early 90s, and that's what's won for me, having Rijkaard in there over Xavi. Xavi was a great player, but I just personally, Rijkaard for me.
Okay. Now, we moved on and we went to our, what you would call, straight out midfielders, box to box, could do a bit of both, you know, the usual. And we broke this down into two sets of four. So the first four was Lampard, Iniesta, Seedorf and Paul Scholes. The second one was Iniesta, Gerrard, let me see, sorry, no, I'm wrong. It was Lampard, Iniesta, Seedorf and Scholes. And the second one was Gerrard, Yaya Toure, Luka Modric and Boban. P, there's 8 names there. Is there anything that stands out for you? You go, well, where's this guy or where's that guy?
Well, you know, I've already talked about Ruud Hult, but I will choose from that list. You've got to have Steven Gerrard in there. Right. How many times does he just break from nowhere, you know, and just produce what needs to be produced in countless games? You could build a whole show around games that he's just produced in when we were absolutely terrible. So you have to have him there.
Keith, for you, there's 8 names there. Gerrard is the one that stands out, and everyone, like, at this stage knows Gerrard won the poll overall, both the heat he was in and the final he was in. But is there anybody else there where you make an argument against Gerrard, or is there anybody on that list or anybody not on that list that you would like to see there?
Well, Gerrard steamrolled the poll, as we all know, but he certainly wouldn't have been near my choice. Look, I'm getting a bit predictable now, but I'm looking at AC Milan. I'm looking at Zvonimir Boban. I'm looking at Clarence Seedorf after that. You know, these are the guys that I would have been putting in. But look, it's a Liverpool-centric poll, and which is fair enough. And Stevie G came out, but he wouldn't have been my choice. I mean, we had a bit of a discussion in the WhatsApp group. I'd have had the likes of Pavel Nedved and all in this type of type of role. He was more of a wide player, but he was such a up and down player. I thought he was excellent. But yeah, I wouldn't personally have had Gerrard myself. But each their own. But it would have been Boban for me.
Okay.
I can't think of anything that Zvonimir Boban or any of the other players mentioned could do over Steven Gerrard. I mean, the only one, as I said, that I would have put there is Ruud Gullit.
I forgot all about him. Is
the benchmark for me. But if I have to pick from the list, I'm picking Steve Gerrard, obviously.
Zvonimir Boban started a war in the Balkans on his own, and therefore, me political urges come out, and he gets the nod. It was just, again, it's growing up as a teenager in the early 90s. AC Milan were the team, and as Gav said, we're all around the same age. We all remember that, and Boban was the player for me. He was the real attacking all-round midfielder in that team. I just loved him, so again, it's a personal preference, but Boban, I had the same with Phil last night about Zanetti. I wouldn't be turned on Zanetti, and I couldn't be turned on Boban either.
Like Avo says there, Clarence Seedorf has got to be in this team. Got 5 Champions League winners medals with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
Chris Back points out that Gerrard wasn't too bad, was he? Key says Iniesta was outrageous. Sorry Gerrard didn't win a league or international honours. That's an argument against Gerrard. It absolutely was. Stephen O'Connor says Zinedine Zidane was outrageous. My favourite midfielder of all time. He will figure later on in this chat, Stephen. Don't you worry about it. Look, they've gone. The viewers have gone with Alonso, with Gerrard beside him. It is Liverpool heavy there, and I think it's the only part of this team that you will see Liverpool feature in. So as we said, it's a Liverpool podcast. You are going to get biased there.
Yeah.
But what alternate? You've put alternates forward. I have to pick the alternate for the alternate team, and I think I'm going to say it out straight. I think out of that list, I have to pick. I think I have to pick. You would pick Gerrard in the team. I think that's fair enough on the viewer's point. When it comes to somebody as an alternate, I do think Clarence Seedorf is quite hard to look past. I think that the different teams he's played in, the style of play, the countries he's played in, the trophies he's won, what he does for you there. Like if we have Rijkaard there and he's doing a bit of everything, Seedorf can do a bit of everything as well. And I think that's probably the way to go with the alternate side when you look how solid they are.
Iniesta would be a tough one to leave out, wouldn't he?
Iniesta is a tough one to leave out. I don't know which way to go because, do you know what? I think I might just go Iniesta. And the reason for it being, when I look further up the pitch and what we'd probably end up with, I think Iniesta would supply so much to these players. He would be so intelligent in where he wants to be on the pitch in order to let a Rijkaard do his thing, or a Lam do his thing, or whoever else forward of him. So I'm just about going to plumb for Iniesta in our side. So as things stand, we have Schmeichel in goal, we've Zanetti, Van Dijk, Chiellini and Lam as a back four, and we've Rijkaard and Iniesta in our midfield. Seedorf is so unlucky to miss out, in my opinion, though. Buffon, for the viewers, Buffon, Cafu, Cannavaro, Baresi, Maldini, Alonso and Gerrard. Now, this is where it got very, very, very interesting, right? So we went for, and we called it attacking midfielder stroke number 10 role, whatever way you want it, whatever kind of slight or angle you want to put on this. We broke it down. We were going to go with a mad amount of stuff again, but we didn't. We went with 8 names. So here were the 8 names. Pete, I'm going to come to you first, and I'll give you the first group: Del Piero, Totti, Zidane, and Kaká. Okay. And second group was Maradona, Bergkamp, Roberto Baggio, and Rivaldo. Is there anybody that's not in that group for you?
You can't. I mean, you've mentioned the 2 names that should stand really out. I mean, if you don't want Messi as a 10, obviously.
Well, Messi's going to figure. I can tell you, like, people are going on about
wide on the left.
Messi's going to go wide on the right. He's going to be an option there. You're going to have Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know where we should put him. Should we put him wide on the left or as a striker? I would put him wide on the left because I think he spent the majority of his career there. You're also going to end up with Ronaldinho wide left. you're going to end up with probably Mark Overmars in that position as well. And then up front, you can just, fill your boots as tomorrow goes. But,
Take your pick. Well,
look,
for me, it's between Maradona and Zidane, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it depends on how are you very, very nostalgic, and do you actually think to yourself, if I'm making this choice, I'm thinking whose achievement was greater? And for me, it's terrible. I love Zidane, but I mean, how many of the other players from the 1986 Argentinian squad do you even remember? I mean, I remember the guy that scored the first goal, Jorge Luis Brown. But probably they're not exactly household names. So for me, the '86 triumph was a one-man triumph. So for that reason alone.
But the thing is, this is from 1990 to today.
Well then no. On 1990, I think he was high on Colombian Martian powder. So we go Zidane. We go Zidane. If it's 86 included, I'm going Maradona. But since the rule is it's
1990 onwards.
Yeah, well, in 1990 or 1991 or 2, Zidane almost signed for Blackburn Rovers for £3.5 million. Yeah. So from Bordeaux. So
he dodged the bullet there.
Yeah, let's go with him because he was, let's face it.
That's the one you want. That's no problem.
Yeah, let's go with Zidane.
Any arguments about that? Because you've 8 brilliant names there, Keith.
I have loads of names, and the ones you've missed out on, like
this is what I'm
Georgie
saying.
Hadji.
Georgie Hadji was in the conversation.
He was. Rui Costa was another one again, leaning back to the Milan.
Riquelme, I'm surprised nobody came out with.
Riquelme, Dejan Savicevic. There was a stack of them. The attacking midfielders were Jari Littman, and Jari Littman was a great player in the 90s. You know what I mean? Before he came to us, there was so many of them. But the list it's a tough one, because to me Maradona would have been a forward, and he also would have been, maybe the 80s was more his bag. He was still very good, into the 90s. He was, 94 he done a cameo at the World Cup, but turned out he was out of his bracket at that, so unfortunately he got sent home. But it's a tough one. I mean, there's a list of them, a litany of a murderer's row of attacking midfielders you can have in here, and to narrow them down was tough.
It was tough.
But some of the names there,
by virtue of the fact that Zidane's name's on the list, it takes an awful lot of other names out of that list, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I hear you mention Jari Littman. Jari Littman was a fine player, and I was delighted when Liverpool signed him, but not on the same level. Not on the same level. Any stage of his career, Zinedine Zidane is wiping guys off.
I was trying to think, at a time in history, you know what I mean, in that sort of Ajax mid-90s team, they were a cracking team, and Littman was their sort of attacking fulcrum, you know what I mean, and for a couple of years he was pretty good, and he doesn't compare with, no one compares with Zidane, in all fairness. It's a bit of a tough one. You look at the other names that are in the list. I mean, Del Piero, Totti, you can talk to people and they'll say they're muck. Personally, I thought they were great players,
Oh yes, absolutely.
There's loads of names there. Dan Thomas said it's so unlucky on Kaka being involved in this because he was a genius.
Yeah.
Chris Brack says Maradona is pure magic, but early 90s his powers are on the dip. But from 1990s, Zidane was top level. Zidane is the only answer. Unbelievable footballer. I idolised him, says Dan Tomo. Stephen O'Connor says, who remembers Enzo Schifo for Belgium? He got a mention. He got a mention when we were talking.
I mentioned them earlier.
Yeah,
absolutely. In that great Belgian side with Jan Keulemans.
Great team.
Good sides.
Chris Brack says, Del Piero was one of my favourite players when I used to watch Golazzo on Channel 4. Danny Emery says, Laudrup did get mentioned but didn't end up in there. Let me see. Was a big fan of De Rossi. No messing with him, says Dylan O'Rourke. Ronaldinho in the 10 would be ideal. Should be playing 4 in midfield, and then he ducks for cover when he says that. Yeah, the problem you have when you play 4 midfield is you've only 2 up front, and then you're walking a massive tightrope. That's what we went with.
Is it 1989 again?
No, but it's not even that. If you go with a flat 4-4-2, you're really stuck up front, and then there's more that goes on. But Ronaldinho will get a mention. We spoke about Ronaldinho at the end last night about what he is and what he does. It was a great chat about him. I could speak about Ronaldinho all day long because for me, you know, I said it last night, Messi is the best player I've ever seen, but the most entertaining footballer I've ever seen is Ronaldinho. I just think he was absolutely outrageous. Look, when it comes down to it, though, you know, the two groups are there, and what have we got? Del Piero gets 3%, Totti 5%, Zidane 77%, and Kaká 14%. Maradona gets 73%, Bergkamp 11%, Baggio with 6%, and Rivaldo with 10%. And it goes to the final, and the final for this one literally went down to, and I'm not messing, the last couple of seconds. It was so tight. It was going back and forward, and, you know, it ends up with Maradona on 42%, Kaká on 10%, Zidane on 45%, and Bergkamp only on 3%. Zidane and Maradona were on 43% each, I think, down to the last 2 minutes, and Zidane just got the last couple. So Zidane goes into the choice for the viewers. Now, Pete, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to say to you, they've taken Zidane, so now you're left with a choice. Now, we have discussed Maradona, and you completely wrote him off when you knew it was from 1990 onwards. So, now listen, you don't have to take anyone from that list of 8. We need you to pick our attacking midfielder. So, as I said, it's Schmeichel, Zanetti, Virgil van Dijk, Chiellini, Lam, Rijkaard, Iniesta, and now you're going to pick a player to play behind the alternate front three, as it will be known.
I will go for entertainment, and statistics as well, and trophies. The player really that ticks all the boxes of what I'm left with. I'll go with Ronaldinho. Definitely.
No, he can't.
Definitely. I can't.
No, not in that.
Really?
Not in that. No. Listen, he'd be perfect in
He's
there.
being classified.
He's being classified as a wide left.
Okay.
So I'll remind you quickly who you had, right? So you're not stuck. So you have to
or
choose
disappointed.
From, you have with them. Well, the 8 there. There's Del Piero, Totti, Kaká, Maradona, Bergkamp, Baggio, Rivaldo, or somebody else. Now, Key says it's Gullit. It has to be. You can pick Gullit if you want.
That's where we were going.
I had a bit of a speech about Rude earlier on. He goes in. I think you're right, Keith. Let's stick him in there. Yeah, considering he can't now. Ironically, I would have wanted to swap him with Steven Gerrard in that side. Gerrard a little bit deeper. Hull it a little bit deeper, and Gerrard probably behind the forward lads if we're talking about what we've got now. But let's go Rudy. Let's go Rudy.
So what we could say here is, with a midfield three of Rijkaard, Iniesta, and Gullit, they're quite interchangeable, aren't they? Because Hull could easily sit the deepest of those three and just dominate a game and let Rijkaard go off and run around like Gini Wijnaldum doing all sorts of stuff, and Iniesta just going around and being what we all want Naby Keita to be. You know, as having said that, Rijkaard could be deep as Iniesta could go deep as. It's a very interchangeable tree, I feel, you have there with Rijkaard, Iniesta, and Hull, shaping up to be two amazing sides. Really, really are. Look, if anybody's watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button, please subscribe, please hit the bell icon, and as soon as we go live, you will know about it. The more people we get on, the more people we get the more we get seen, the more people we get in to share opinions and stuff like that. If you're on Twitter or you're watching on Periscope, please hit the 3 little dots, share it onto your timeline. The more people share, as always, the more people we get in, the more people we get on board, and the more laugh we have, to be honest with you. That's all we're asking you for. We don't ask you for money. We don't ask you for subscriptions. We are the biggest Liverpool podcast out there that's completely free. Let's be perfectly honest about it. And we'll always be free. We'll never ask you for money for any content that we do, unless it's for charity and we're trying to raise money for people. So all we ask is that you like, subscribe, and share. That's all you have to do for us from one end of the week to the other. But getting away from that, we're going to go into forwards tomorrow, and Keith, it's going to be an absolute minefield, isn't it?
It is. I mean, in some ways, we know a couple of them that are going to take up on the viewers, the voting. You know, we know Messi and Ronaldo are probably going to take up 2 of them spaces. So the alternate one will be, in my opinion, be a bit more interesting. You know what I mean? Who will be picked out of the bones now? There's going to be, again, a serious amount of quality players getting thrown out into that to be voted on. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, just on the team we've picked so far, I'm loving the AC Milan midfield that we've somehow come out with there. Hullett and Rijkaard, fantastic. Really happy about that. But I agree, it is a lovely blend of a midfield. Not everyone will agree. A lot of people will say, no way, how can you not have player A, or how can you not have, this player? Maradona getting left out is a controversial one, but post
I'd like to stress that
1990.
it's not 1986. 1986 Maradona walks into this side.
Oh yeah,
It's minefield Maradona 1990 to 1994.
yeah.
No. No.
That's it. Fake penis Maradona doing the drug tests and all.
Exactly. Thanks.
Some people are asking there with regards to YouTube. Are we broadcasting on YouTube? Yeah, we are.
It's not on.
If you go on to the LFC Day Trippers page, it's broadcasting there. I don't know what's going on. But we're definitely broadcasting on YouTube tonight. It's there. If you just go to LFC Day Trippers, you will see it there. I'm looking at it on my phone, so it's absolutely fine there. But I don't know why people can't see it. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I can't see.
Dylan O'Rourke says you definitely get your money's worth. I'm presuming you mean with this podcast. Yeah, we believe you do. You're not being asked to give anything. It's literally like, subscribe, hit bell icons, and share. That's all you have to do. It's a couple of buttons, and that's all we ask. Stephen O'Connor says Roberto Baggio, what a player, lads. He was a brilliant player. Danny Emery says it has to be Loudrup. Chris Brack said just go with Biscan, get it over and done with. I don't think you have to go that far. But Pete, looking at the forwards tomorrow, I think there's going to be a bit of controversy when it comes down to the wide left, because I look at it and I go, when Messi's taking wide right, there's no doubt about that. But on wide left, you're looking at Ronaldinho or Ronaldo, and you're going to have to choose between one of them. Because it was suggested last night that you'd end up with a front three of Ronaldinho, Messi, and Ronaldo, and you could put Cristiano Ronaldo up front. For me, Cristiano Ronaldo is a wide left player. He went up front when his legs went a little bit, or he wanted to just score more goals in the last probably season or two at Real Madrid. But he spent a career in the wide left. But where do you see? Because when it gets to the striker, you have to fill one position, and you can just start rattling names off.
Just got one answer for that, for the striker. But starting with wide left, you've got to go with prime. And I hate when people use this term because it's from a video game. But prime Cristiano Ronaldo with legs, absolutely. I mean, the goal that sticks out in my mind that season when we were waiting for them to stop. I think it was 2008, and he absolutely destroyed Fulham. I know, not a great side on his own, cutting in from that left hand side onto that right foot face. So that Cristiano Ronaldo sits on the left hand side, killing people for me. Even ahead of Ronaldinho.
Yeah, Ronaldinho.
It depends what you want, isn't it, from your team? I mean, Ronaldo's more efficient and ruthless. Ronaldinho's more
flamboyant,
entertaining.
Yeah,
entertaining, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, ruthless nonetheless. Well. Yeah, but just ruthless with a smile on his face. You know what I mean? He was. Let's not downplay it. I mean, a lot of people won't agree with us. Not putting him in that short. Because of the obvious player that we're going to put on the other side. Let's be honest about it. Ronaldinho should be in that side, but I mean, it's a tribute to how devastating that Ronaldo was. Just. Not saying he's not devastating now. One of the best headers of a footballer I've ever seen, but as a central striker. But my God, that pace, that skill, that finish has to be him. Has to be him.
Dan Tomo has Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, and Messi as his front three. I think that's where the viewers will end up going with, and then we'll have to find alternates to go against that.
Which should be him. Danny
Emery has Thierry Henry in there with a show. Van Basten comes in with a show from Chris Brack.
Good show.
Key says the real Ronaldo, number 9. He was different level as a centre forward. He was outrageous. He was
but imagine he didn't get injured. You know what I mean? The injuries did do for him a bit as well, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
If he hadn't been, you're talking about the best striker of it.
When you watched him at Barcelona and Inter Milan, he was...
Yeah, exactly. Unreal. 96 to 99, it was just
unreal.
Luis Figo will probably go in there as left-hand side as well in the running for the left forward. He won't get close, so I don't think. We'll probably end up with 8 names for the left, 8 names for the right, and 8 names up front, and then we'd have to break it down to 4, and then break it down to a winner. But it's really hard to look at. If anyone wants to throw in random questions, you're more than welcome to. We've lashed through these tonight because we only had to pick 3 players as opposed to 5 last night. So if you have any random questions, please throw them in. Let me see. Injuries killed Van Basten, says Danny. Yeah, he absolutely did, but he was unbelievable.
He did, yeah.
I remember him playing against I think it was Gothenburg in the Champions League, probably around 93 at the San Siro. And he was scoring overhead kicks and everything. He was fucking ridiculous, like, you know.
Yeah.
I think Van Basten was more peak in the late 80s, wasn't he? And then the 90s.
Up until about 92, I think he was on it, and then for the last year and a half, he was just. I think he was nearly. It killed him. The ankle injuries just killed him.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about pure finishers, nobody's to touch him. Absolutely nobody's to touch him.
Yeah, he was an assassin, wasn't he?
The goal he scored at Euro '88 against the Russians.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beyond even today.
When
by
someone
today's
scores
standards,
a goal like that, now it's always like, it's so like Van Basten, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just not. I mean, you think of all of the factors. Think of a very, very strong Soviet Union team at the time.
Yeah.
So the best from a huge continent, the goalkeeper they had, a guy called Rinat Desaev at the time, who was at the peak of his careers. He was just different level as a goalkeeper. The angle that Marco van Basten had to aim at, which if you look at it, it's probably the width of 3 or 4 goalposts, and then to find that perfect power and dip to beat a goalkeeper like that. No, that goal is just outrageous. He's the best finisher any of us have ever seen. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about Fowler, we'll talk about Ian Rush, but pound for pound, ridiculous finishing. Marco van Basten.
Do you know who doesn't get a mention when in this whole conversation is Romario? Romario in the 90s for Barcelona and PSV was sensational as well.
Yeah.
You know, so he should get a mention.
He definitely will. It's going to be so hard to pick 8 strikers.
Oh,
so many other things.
A lot of recency bias in it as well.
Well, there's so many other things though that Romario didn't do that will rule him out of a great 11. I think you're right. Raw finishing, he was just different class. 1-on-1, forget about it. But there's so many other things, that a great player would never do, and that great players do that rule Romario out of a greatest 11 run in, really.
And again, you look at, what's a great striker now. Messi and Ronaldo have sort of ruined it for everyone. You know what I mean? With scoring 50 goals a season, you'd look back at someone that in the 90s especially, and then even into the 90s.
Well, that's where the false 9 came from.
Yeah,
that's where the false 9 came from, wasn't
it?
Because when you had wide players, i.e. Ronaldo and Messi, banging in 50 goals a season, you nearly had to play with a false 9 because he had to get out of the way of these two. He had to get out of the avenues that they were looking to fill all the time. Messi in a different way to Ronaldo. Ronaldo was pure power and pace and getting in there. And don't get me wrong, and a ridiculous amount of skill along with that. But he was looking to be so direct in getting into those positions that would be vacated by a striker in order to score. Whereas Messi would be looking to take it from 30 yards and go past you 3 or 4 players and stick it away. But again, usually when he stuck it away, he was in a position where you would expect to find an orthodox number 9. So that's where the false 9 thing starts to develop, where you're looking going, we just want you to link with these fellas because they're outrageous, that way. So that's the way it goes. Random question from Dylan. Would you rather be drunk 24/7 or never drunk again?
Never drunk again.
Yeah, 24/7 would be too hard to handle. Definitely.
Yeah. I can't do 2 days. I can't do one day after another. Never mind 24/7.
I like a drink now, surprisingly enough. But never, I'd have to stay away from it. 24/7, I'd be gone.
It's heavy.
I'm not able for it anymore, lads. Not able for it anymore.
I don't think it's the able for it. It's just like, don't get me wrong, I love a drink probably more than most people, but when it comes down to it, then after 3, 4, 5 days, like, go away for a week and go on it. After 3, 4, 5 days, you're like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's mad. So I think we'd all say we'd stay away from it rather than 24/7. Closest to the Van Basten goal was Torres versus Blackburn at Anfield. I can tell you, I remember one. It was Fulham away to Palace. It's probably going back about. It might be 5 years ago now. I can't remember the guy's name. And a ball was played over this fella's shoulder, and he caught it on the meat, and he put it in he put it in at that angle. It was a ridiculous goal. If you look up Crystal Palace v Fulham wonder goal. I can't remember the guy's name. It was a Fulham player at Crystal Palace. I can tell you that it was very, very similar to it.
It was Carrying Freud, not Carrying Freud. It was. I remember the goal. Fuck, I'll get his name.
Yeah, have a look it up for me. Raoul is a great show for the pure goal scorer, says Danny Emery. Hristo Stoichkov says Stephen O'Connor, great player.
Yeah.
Chris Brack's favourite international shirt as a kid. His was the 1998 Netherlands shirt.
98 or 88?
He says 98, but I don't know whether he means Kasami was the guy's name. Dan Thomas.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
him.
Kasami,
it's a ridiculous goal. Favorite international shirt as a kid? P.
Germany.
The Republic of Ireland, 1988. That jersey was just outstanding.
On the sleeve.
Yeah, I was like, why did we ever change that jersey? All of our shorts should have been just a variation on that shirt.
Okay.
The 88-90 era was where there was the pinnacle for shorts. I think you had the Holland and Soviet Union and the Germany away one, where all that mad Adidas designed one. It was beautiful. But the German home one with the 3 colours across, the famous Adidas one, that takes some beating. I know it's the.
Danny says 90 West Germany as well.
Nice short.
I would go with the away Germany one, that the green one.
The green one,
yeah,
beautiful.
And France done a lovely one. I think probably 2000 and I'm going to say 2016 probably, in around then. It was a beautiful white away when it was outrageous. The saddest film you've ever watched. Dylan O'Rourke says when he first got with his girlfriend, he went over and I think he said her mother, her sister were there, and he put on My Sister's Keeper. And he cried for about 3 hours. What's the saddest film you've ever watched?
Probably Philadelphia. Philadelphia is very sad.
Okay.
As a kid, The Champ used to be a bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah. Ricky Schroeder and all that.
Yeah, that was a bit. But as I got older, a bit embarrassing now. You know what I mean? But the Green Mile was a bit of a. The Green Mile when John Coffey gets. Spoiler alert. John Coffey may or may not get his comeuppance.
No, sorry.
When he does, I was holding back the tears in that one.
I remember my wife having a breakdown to The Notebook. But do you remember the one years ago, An American Tale? I think it was animated.
Fievel Goes West.
Yeah.
That was made in Dublin, believe it or not.
Was it? Well,
Sullivan Blue Studios down in Cunningham Road. Yeah, that's where that was drawn.
That was the first film I remember getting upset at. I don't really get upset at films, but that was one. Stephen O'Connor says Gabriel Batistuta, the pure goal scorer, never really won. He was deadly. 94 Brazil jersey, says Danny Emery. He's into that.
Cracker, I had that.
1998 was obsessed to see what Holland team when I was 15, and so that's why he's into 1998. He says 1988 more iconic, but only 5, so don't really remember that tournament. Danny says Batigol was exceptional. Annie Lassie film says Avo. Just melts Avo's heart by the looks of it. I had a lovely one in I think I'm going to say the 2002. Would it be 2002? Maybe 98 even. Portugal away jersey. It was blue and white.
I think I remember that short. Nice short.
Really nice.
Nice short.
Funniest film you've ever seen?
Anything with Will Ferrell for me. I just think he's the funniest man in the world.
Yeah, I like him.
Anything.
I love Will Ferrell. I love Old School.
Yeah, Old School.
Yeah, I
was gonna say brilliant. Frank the Tank and all that. Eddie movie.
I like them. I like the one. I don't know how recent it is, but it's is it Paul Rudd is his name? It's called I Love You Man, and he's trying to find the best man. I really enjoyed that. But
very good.
I like a couple of Adam Sandler ones as well. People don't like him, but I kind of like a couple of Adam Sandler ones.
I love the way he's on that 80s kick all the time. Whatever movie he makes, he always makes it clear. I like music from the 80s, and this movie is going to feature that heavily. I love the way he's into what he's into.
Let me see. Hangover, first time I saw it, I had me from start to finish. It's Dylan O'Rourke. When I was a kid, says Danny, Watership Down, Bambi and E.T. broke my heart. E.T. wasn't too bad. Mac and Me was worse. Macamillan.
Yeah.
Watership Down was a bleeding melter now, in fairness. We watched that in school as kids. Art Garfunkel had me in a heap when he was singing Bright Eyes and that one. So yeah, Watership Down, forgot all about that. Bleeding getting a bit teary now thinking about it.
Dylan's ma got thrown out of the cinema watching it with her friends for laughing too much. Avo liked Stir Crazy. That tickled him.
Great. Stir Crazy's great.
Dylan O'Rourke just says Frank the Tank. Yeah, well, everyone
Brilliant.
knows who Frank the Tank is. Lads,
Legendary.
Before we finish, there might be more jerseys thrown in there, and there might be more random questions. But before we finish, the whole coronavirus thing, we can't let a podcast pass without discussing it. It looks like England are starting to take things a bit seriously. Pete, you're in Spain, you're in Barcelona at the moment, and you're in lockdown, yeah?
I am. But what's interesting about it is, people think that societies are just going to lock down for months and months and months. They're not. Each country is nominating it's the amount of money it's going to spend bailing businesses out. So I think France are into businesses for 300 billion. That's a loan, by the way. The same figures that we talked about in Spain, UK, and eventually in Ireland. But what it means is it buys us time. It buys us 4 to 6 weeks, after which you'll go into a period where everybody will take a view, and this will probably be in the first week of May, end of April, that we are where we are. And life has to go on. We have to. There'll be warnings issued. There'll be precautionary measures posted, and after that, it's just about taking care, but getting back to work. We're not going to get into a situation where everything's shut. There's a lot of people out there wishing that things shut down, purely based on what may or may not happen with Liverpool. The fact is that everything will go back to normal, or as close to normal as we get, on the first week of May. It has to, because beyond that, you're talking about actual countries being bankrupt, and it just can't happen. It's a cynical view, but it's the way it is.
So, staying with you, Pete, the Premier League have put April the 4th as their first kind of deadline date on this. I think they're due to meet tomorrow.
That won't happen.
And no, that won't happen. I think they're due to meet tomorrow, and they're basically, the word coming out from most reputable journalists is that the Premier League are striving and want at nearly any cost that this Premier League season gets finished. And I understand that, because the ramifications if it doesn't are massive. You look at UEFA and you see them that they're moving the Euros 20 to 21. Now the thing is, people say, well, that's moving it for the leagues. I don't think it is. I think what's happening there is that, yes, it suits the leagues being moved, or suits moving it for the leagues, but the logistics of the European Championships for this summer is just a no-go. Even if the leagues were finished now, even if we were 38 games in now and they said, well, listen, football's closing anyway because we're finished our seasons, I can't see the Euros happening
make
anyway.
Make no mistake. The fact that the European Championships is supposed to be spread across 12 countries is irrelevant. The Premier League alone, the television deal is up to in and around £3 billion sterling. The European Championships, even if it was on a remote island on the Faroe Islands, would be cancelled purely to facilitate the completion of domestic football across Europe. That's the priority now. As it stands, nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to, because everybody wants to make the fans feel like, their presence makes all the difference. But it's all about the completion of the leagues because of television revenue. The Premier League, being honest with you, does not care if the stadiums are full or not. The insurance covers clubs in the event that fans can't be there. Television revenue is everything. So what will happen in the worst case scenario is the games will be completed between May and June, probably completed towards the end of June, behind closed doors, but on television. That's the way and you'll see Sky giving deals, to season ticket holders. Everybody will lament the fact, the game is not the same without the fans. The fans will be there. They'll just be watching it on the screen.
And we know April the 4th is not going to happen. Do you see it in? No, listen, I'm not pinning you to your collar here, but do you see it? Early May being the start of it, because if you look, behind closed doors, I see that argument. But when you look at the way the UK are handling things, which for me is appalling, we give out about the Irish government morning, noon and night, but at least they've done something and went, listen, no, this is getting serious. We need to shut it down. They've done so a week ago now. I think they shut the schools. It was last Thursday, so tomorrow. It's a week since they shut the schools. But the UK seem to be just dithering along here and going, like, because you have to remember, we can all say, oh well, look, we're okay, Jack. Don't worry about the UK. But whatever happens in the UK, the people going to be affected by it most is probably Ireland.
I'm not defending the UK stance under any circumstances, but I understand what they were trying to do. What they were trying to do is restrict the movement of people. So, for example, when schools close, the first instinct, whether it be in summer holidays or whether it be in a time of crisis, is to move from a heavily populated area to an area less so. A lot of those areas are virtually untouched by the illness so far, and the UK. I think the Boris Johnson was trying to maintain that. Now, not that it can be forever maintained, but he was trying to control the spread to give them at least the summer months before they had to deal with that, because usually these things go dormant during the summer. Now, what you're faced with, and what happened in Spain last week, was the schools closed immediately, but the parents decided to throw their kids in the car, leave Madrid, leave Huelva, leave La Coruña, leave Valencia, and go down to Malaga and down to the less populated areas. And what you're seeing now is increases in cases in the less populated areas, which is something that the UK wanted to avoid. So it wasn't that they were trying to take no action, it's that they were trying to avoid the mass spread, if you will, and try to avoid that at least till the summer. But obviously not everybody understands that. They just think, oh, you're doing nothing. No, we're planning in a different way.
Yeah, I get that, but I think I did say from the start, I felt we are lucky that we're on an island. We weren't landlocked with France, Germany and things, because that's what's happening there. People are travelling over borders, and it is spreading that way. There's no doubt about that. Whereas we are quite lucky that we're on an island. But I was getting annoyed at the UK, because I thought, lads, it almost felt like we're not in Europe anymore. We don't have to do what all you pricks are doing. We do whatever we want. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it can come across as that as, listen, we've made our own way in this world now, and this is what we'll do it differently to you. They should have reacted quicker, in my opinion. And simply because, not because of the football, not because of Liverpool, not because of anything like that. The way I'm looking at it is, the world needs to be in sync here. The world needs to be saying, lads, listen, just stop everything now. Everyone, just stop everything now. And all right, I know what you're saying. You can't go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks of, we're shut down, because the world just ends. Economically, the world falls on its arse. And yeah, we'll all be saved, but the world will be in bits at the end of it. All these 300 billion
you'll
and stuff like that.
You'll see it for 6 weeks. You will see it for 6 weeks. There'll be 6 weeks from now of absolutely nothing, and what they call cocooning. That's going to happen. But after that, our doors are going to have to open again. We're going to have to go back to work in order to avoid a complete financial meltdown. We're going to have to go back to work, and the contingency is, okay, be responsible, be socially responsible, and try to limit the damage. Unfortunately, we're trying to give ourselves some breathing room, so as the health services, who are doing an unbelievable job, obviously, can take that sharp intake of breath and prepare for 6 weeks' time, when cases are going to be sadly on the rise. So it's frightening for a lot of people, particularly the vulnerable, and I don't want to downplay it, but the reality is, working life has to continue at some stage, and I would predict that 1st, 2nd of May, that things will have to have some semblance of normality in order for the world to remain economically viable, which, as we all know, makes the world go around.
It absolutely does. Keith, when you look at it and you see everything that's going on with regards to Italy, France, Spain, Germany, the UK, Ireland, I know in Africa they're talking about it, America, Canada, it's everywhere, the kind of way. There is talk there with China that it's on the decrease in China. And they look like they've caught a hold of it and stuff like that, which is fair enough. But where do you see this going? Because, I'm going to ask this question. I'll probably be asking it every second or third day for the next month. But where do you see this going? Because April the 4th is not going to happen. It's the same way the schools in Ireland being closed until the 29th of March. That's not going to happen either. It's going to go beyond that. But would you agree with Pete that when you get to the start of May, you're hoping that it has peaked and it's on the decrease, and people being socially responsible, as he says, and social distancing and hygiene and stuff like that. While it's on the decrease, people just being responsible lets it go away over a period of time. But in that period of time, we are all going to have to go back to work, start going out again, start socialising again and stuff like that. Where do you see this going? For you, is it early May, or do you think it's beyond that?
In my heart I want it to be early May, but my head is sort of saying no, I think it might go on a bit longer. But you're relying on people not being fucking idiots, you know what I mean? And it's a lot to expect. Do you know what I mean? You see videos of people having coronavirus parties and all this sort of shit. It's not helping the situation. You saw, in the UK they were having the Stereophonics played a gig there in Cardiff to so many thousand people the other day. You had Paddy's Day parties and parades. We didn't have them in Ireland, but you had loads of them in the UK. You need people to take it serious. Now I don't know if Pete, you're aware, Leo Varadkar done an address to the nation last night.
I was watching it on Twitter. I watched it, yeah.
Yeah, he said a lot of nothing in it, but what I took from it was just, stressing that things are going to get bad, and that's the thing, how quickly it'll get bad. I don't know. May might be ambitious. I'd like to think it'll be over the worst. Not from a football point of view, of course. I mean, that's all becoming secondary now, but just from the fear and all that's out there, it's crazy.
But this is the thing, the whole, not the whole thing, but a lot of it has been driven by the media, and clickbaiting. The media is unashamed. They like to put the yellow banner across the Sky News and Fox News. They like the picture of an actual virus strain. I'm not saying don't take it seriously, but I am saying that panic sells, fear sells, bad news sells. What you don't see is the recovery statistics. You don't see the 97.2%. Recovery statistics. That's something you won't see on any upside report from Fox or Sky. But bad news sells. However, I think you're right. It may drag on into the summer. But what I'm saying, economically, and purely looking at it from that standpoint, the world itself cannot afford to lock. We cannot afford to lock 80-90% of the workforce down. There's only a certain amount of people that can work from home for 3 months. We can afford to do it for 6 to 8 weeks. Absolutely.
And that's where the problems will all arise, isn't it? That's where, and then who pays the bill then when it?
Well, the businesses will pay back at less than at just under 1% interest. That will be the arrangement. That it's terrible that this has happened, guys. You're self-employed. You took the risk. However, we'll support you, and this is what the government is saying to the self-employed. We will support you at a rate of between, depending on what country you're in, between 2,000 and 5,000 euros per head. So per employee, we will support that. But that won't be for 3-4 months. That will be for 6 to 8 weeks maximum, because anything else would completely flatline the world's economy. People need to understand this, and they need to brace themselves and keep themselves safe. And the people who have it, they need to understand that people that are vulnerable need to, for example, when things get back to some semblance of normality, people that remain vulnerable are going to have to remain on lockdown. They're going to have to follow very strict guidelines that we're all following now. It's just the way of it. It's the way. It's the same with the normal flu virus, by the way, which is more of a killer statistically than even this one.
It's a very bad situation, and I agree with both of you. That it's a lot of it is driven by the media, but it is a case of, I think it's just a case of wait and see when it peaks, what time it peaks at, what sort of numbers it peaks at, and then you see where it starts to come down. But you would hope that Italy starts to drop off, France, Germany. We're going to be a little bit behind that. England, the UK are going to be a little bit behind that again, simply because of the plans that have been put in place and what time they've been put in place at. So you're going to have to wait and see that. I'd be hopeful that, I would say around mid-May. I'm looking at it going, it's peaked and it's coming down. Factor in what Pete said there with regards to people having to work and having to move industry and having to move money around the world. That's just the way it is. It's a fact of life. You'd hope that whoever can get this and get through it, that's all you want, the kind of way. And the less the minimize fatalities, that's the main thing in the whole lot.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
look, it's a quite a serious note we've ended on, but it's something you have to discuss because it affects us in daily life, work life,
I'll be honest,
football life.
exactly.
It supports us,
Yeah.
and it affects us in everything.
What's very disappointing to see is people weaponizing this situation to pour their grudges out about something as trivial as Liverpool winning the Premier League. I mean, you look at Richard Keys. I mean, did I miss something? Are Liverpool Football Club responsible for his decision to go on live television inadvertently, albeit, and decide to be sexist and disgusting about women? Did I mean, there's a lot of self-interest. You look at what Piers Morgan is coming out with, talking about what's fair and what isn't fair. These guys, people like this, are just weaponizing a potentially fatal disease, and then other fans of other clubs are looking at us saying, "Oh, you're being selfish. You're being selfish." No, I mean, you only have to look at Jurgen Klopp's statement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a representation of Liverpool's position. Listen, forget about football. What's important is looking out for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like anyone that's suggesting null and void in the league now, it's just, as you say, Peter, is weaponising it. Because if it comes down to it, right, and in 6 months we're not any better, and the league for that season is nulled and voided, and we have to put our hands up and say, right, this can't get done. That's just the way it's going to have to be. But you can't make that call now. You can't make that call. Fucking the UK isn't even on a lockdown yet, and they want to be null and void in the league. You know what I mean? Like, they have to let it play.
It's not going to happen. People don't understand the economics behind the game.
Yeah.
If this had happened 15 or 20 years ago, when it was the Littlewoods First Division, it could have been sustainable. But the Premier League is a television-wise, £3 billion business. It's not going to happen. It will be played out behind closed doors.
Yeah,
to fulfill the television contract. People need to suck that up. It's amazing the realities that I've seen rival fans play out this season. The VAR reality, it's become a phenomenon. So much so that there are Manchester City, Manchester United, Everton supporters out there who actually believe that VAR has benefited Liverpool.
Yeah.
Liverpool are somewhere around low mid-table when it comes to VAR overturning of decisions. But don't let the facts get in the way of the reality that you create. Then there was the wish that Donald Trump had started war with Iran, wiping out half the world in the process, just to stop Liverpool. And now it's, I hope that the world's economy collapses and we lose, millions of people just to stop. And then they have the barefaced cheek to turn around and talk about A, what's fair, and B, how selfish Liverpool supporters are. We're living in unbelievable times. But I just can't believe, maybe it's Twitter, but I can't believe the reality that our rival fans create for themselves and then turn the gun on us and accuse us of doing the same thing. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's
It's off the wall. Like, let's be honest about it. But listen, we're gonna have to head, and we're gonna have to keep on top of this coronavirus chat as we go. Anybody that's bored or kind of just had enough of it, we're sorry. It's just a thing that we have to do because it will update, and every update will affect people in you're living with, people on the road, people in the area you're in, people in the country you're in. It's going to affect everyone. It will affect football fans as well. It's as simple as that. As Pete said, it goes a bit far at times, but at the end of the day, in the back of every football fan's mind is, okay, there is a problem in the world at the moment. It's a massive one, but a little bit of you is going, but when will the football be back? And that's perfectly all right, because it's something you're completely used to. It's been a brilliant show. The teams have been nearly decided. We're going to have some big polls tomorrow, and we're going to have some big discussions tomorrow, and the finalised teams, and then we'll probably put them to a vote as well. Just to recap: Buffon, Cafu, Cannavaro, Baresi, Maldini, Alonso, Gerrard, Zidane. That's the viewer's choice. The Trippers' alternate one is Schmeichel, Zanetti, Van Dijk, Chiellini, Lam, Rijkaard, Iniesta and Hullet. We will do the forwards tomorrow night. It will get tasty, and we will get some people on to just have a row, basically. Keith, it's been great, and we will talk to you soon.
Pleasure as always, Gav.
Good stuff, Pete.
Cheers, guys. Have a safe night.
Good stuff.
Yep.
That's it. That's the Fatback 4 Daily. Enjoy the rest of, well, there's not much left here tonight, but enjoy it anyway, and we will be back with you tomorrow night. Over and out.